Welcome to Nevermind the Furthermore. Wait a minute, this music isn't right, the scene isn't right. Hang on. That's more like it. And now it's time to the show for all creatives. Nevermind the Furthermore. Your source for conversation, inspiration, and fun. With your host, Nicholas Anthony Tockert. He's an artist, a writer, a swordsman, and a game designer. He knows how to use the sword and axe in historical battles without anybody getting hurt too much. He's also the Manatee Man, master of marketing. And he may even have a guest or two. One thing, though, to be certain. Just don't call him a cryptid. With that, it's about time for the show. So sit back, enjoy, and have some coffee and chat with us.
Good morning, Nevermorians. I'm your host with the most, Mr. Nicholas Anthony Tockert, and I hope you're having a wonderful morning. Happy hump day. I know it feels weird. It's always rough coming back from dealing with the mojo of the 3-day weekends, but that just means, folks, we're a few beats closer to that fun Friday and getting out the door to enjoy the weekend. Which doesn't really matter for some of us independent creator types because we're working 24/7. I am off the vacation time with my lovely wife. It ended up staycation due to the cataclysmic effects on our vehicles. But that and more will be told in just a moment. Well, I have to run a commercial real quick because apparently something has just gone wrong. Let's see. It's going to be one of those days, guys.
Greetings, fellow traveler. I am Dankert Lexicon. You're either here because somebody directed you here, or because of the strange currents inside the algorithm. In either case, welcome to Radio Retro Future, where we talk about steampunk and other forms of retrofuturism in pop culture. What is steampunk? Well, I'm glad you asked. Steampunk is a combination of science fiction and alternate history, wrapped in a delicious dough of Victorian pulp fiction and modern-day pop culture tropes. You still want to know more? Go check out our ongoing Steampunk Beginner's Guide, the series which explores the genre, aesthetic and culture. Or you can check out the community's musicians, inner teledrama, steampunk music for Fallout. Yes, a actual steampunk-themed radio station for the game Fallout 4 that is part of the mod Old World Radio 2. Or you can check out the Radio Retro Future podcast, where we have interviews with writers and other types of creators within the international community. On our second channel, the Retro Future Research Foundation, on the other hand, we have story videos like Tales of the SCP Foundation, readings of Lovecraft and related writers, lore explanation, and hopefully our very own narrated series of our original short stories called The Association of Ishtar. If you can't wait for the narrations, you can read The Association of Ishtar by following the link down below. That is what we do in a nutshell, and if you want to get involved, join our Discord community where stuff happens. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna bid you adieu. And as always, make things your way.
Well, folks, that was thank you to Bonsert for both putting out that wonderful site. Association of Ishtar is a great place where you can read stories, you can submit stories, and it gave me a minute to deal with some parental needs. It is, guys, it has been a week of Mondays, but we're making it through. This is how we adapt. And that is the occasional entertaining side things that keep this show so lively. Now, remember, our sales are brought to you by the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear, which my copy isn't here yet. I'm so excited. But we will keep things going. Now, I'm going to deep dive into your comments because I have some stuff to talk about, but I know I am 8:30, Joe. Okay, cool. Cool. First through the door at 8:30 in the morning, and it didn't get zapped by the algorithm. This is amazing. It's our own Joe Bachman. Hi, Joe. Good morning and happy hump day, folks. Happy hump day to you, Joe. I hope everything's doing good. Carl's greeting Joe B and the subsequent. Why am I saying it so weird? Subsequent. Anyway, Nevermorians. Morning, Carl. Hey, Joe. Nice quiet day here, thank goodness, after yesterday. Oh, Carl had a busy day yesterday. You want to get into that? That's okay. Lots of greetings, especially to Joe B. Morning, Donna. Good morning, Donna. I hope you're keeping the hump day, darling. Saw your post about the delivery guy. Guessing the rest of the day was fun. After delivery guy fell halfway down our steps and banged his head on the dryer. Hey, I'm glad for some boredom and quiet. Holy smokes. I hope he went to the hospital. At least I did ask, aren't you going to use the dolly? So if it comes to accusations, I am covered. I would, man, that's scary. That is scary. I hate the thought of being vulnerable to something like a neglect situation. Writing news. Didn't get much writing done, but we are mostly packed for SilCon this Friday and Saturday. I even have my backpack and books in the van already. I was seriously planning to do that and go visit SilCon. I've looked forward to it all year. Naturally, more entanglements with cars have meant that those plans are nixed for the moment. Cat feeding has been arranged and security of the house is taken care of. Yes, I'm glad you could get unorthodox unorthodox options. They're a good firm. Not sure why their leader has an eye patch and 2 ravens on him, but you find who you can to watch things. You wouldn't think that Donna would have contacts with mercenaries, but these things happen. Joe, I spent most of the weekend doing coding tutorials. Didn't do anything yesterday, but though with our park board meeting and the other town meetings last night. Well, I'm just glad you are so civically minded. Joe had I'm hoping to get some coding done while I'm at work, and after I finish the usual paperwork and get some pricing, get done pricing some stuff out for the park. Oh, cool. Yes, on our end, before we get back into it, the Earl Park Festival was a rousing success. We made a couple of ventures down there. The entire town was flooded with people coming to listen to the music, although there wasn't as much music this year. I think we're still recovering from it's the mix of recovering from the unspeakable ailment and okay, it looked like my phone, my camera is pulsing funny, like it doesn't like the amount of light in the room, and I'm having alternate issues. So let's see if this, that washes me out too bad. You guys can't see me like that. There we go. Give it just a little light. Now I don't look ominous at all. Well, we'll figure it out, folks. I love figuring out these things live because it shows other people that you can figure it out. See, there we go. Got the perfect angle, at least for a while. And they are taking up the corn as we speak, which means the corn sharks should be burrowing down to the sublevels of the soil, making it safer for everybody for now. Anyway, back to reality. Tutorials are very important. Luckily, I'll be able to go back and watch these tutorials again as I create my apps. I know there are going to be a lot of things I've forgotten by the time I from the time I started these tutorials. Yes, we have while the systems are in place, this is why I say buy paper copies. But right now, we have these magic little boxes. Mine is hooked up here on my rig of awesomeness, but that allow us to reference things. And the right YouTube channels for tutorials and education are amazing. That nothing beats actually doing it. But being able to go back and reference how did they do that? I do that all the time. I'm teaching myself Clip Studio Paint and really trying to boost my digital artwork, which has affected my writing for a bit. But it was something I could do while on vacation, essentially. You see, my wife had this week off. Now, my dear friend and partner, Luke, is eagerly awaiting a text version of the introduction to Paul Bunyan Kaiju Slayer. But it's really hard when a project goes into one format and reformatting it. So I've been looking up a lot of tutorials. Never feel bad about looking up tutorials and reference. It's not cheating. Tracing is cheating. AI is something I could shake my fist at and we can talk about. It's a lengthy discussion there. Not that I'm anti-AI, and I have no doubt it will reach sentience. But I also understand technology enough to understand that it's delightfully unstable. So I'm not terribly worried about some of the more elaborate AI problems. But we'll talk more about that, I think, once we get through. And I get caught up because I'm behind enough. I want to knock some of these out. But yes, I can't wait to see what Joe Bachman is knocking out on his apps as the seed and feed trucks go barreling by. Carl, I have to update Uncle Carl's Guide to Muncie at least once a year to keep up. I feel your pain, Joe. Well, yeah, and that's really neat that you have to do that. I will have to update some of my manuals, but that's the nice thing about, my spear book references to a weapon that's 500,000 years old. So innovations aren't frequently coming to the world of speardom, but something like Muncie, you have to. And there we go. For the purpose of getting things balanced, folks, I think that's a good way to ensure profitability, even though it also smacks of planned obsolescence, which is something I'm not terribly for. What do you guys think on that subject? Do you write with the intention of sequels? Do you write with the intention of additions, where you dramatically change things or fix things as it improves? Or are you a one and done author? Bam, I've written the story, I've told the story, I move on to a whole different story. I'd like to know what works for people. Time to mute the show. My head hurts too much to hear the hello. Well, I'm sorry. Hello, kids. Hi, Grant. More greetings to Grant Lankard. And everybody's happy to see him. Lord knows I am. Won't be here too long. And you got free tickets to a baseball game. That sounds fun. What a wholesome thing to stumble into. I haven't done much baseball. I went to a WNBA game once, but I've never been to like anything bigger than like a local kids baseball game. Though, if you are in Northwest Indiana, Deep River Park near Maryville, Indiana, in Lake County, has 1880s rules baseball. It's really cool. It's just unabashedly wholesome. And if something like that and you're in the area, I really recommend you get a chance to look at that. Free, not counting food and beverages. Have fun. Well, yeah. Oh, see, only $300 to the goal. Kickstarter projects. Mr. Fantastic, Beowulf, 1 to 4, Adventure that spans centuries. That's really cool. That's a really good commercial. Thank you. Bonsert's a great guy. He does really neat things. Tragically, I did not win the cover contest, but I saw the cover that won. It was very much they went with the professional cover. I went with trying to make it look more like it was colored in a coloring book. So it was a theme difference. That works though. You fail everything you don't try. And when you fail, you learn. I saw it around somewhere. I think it was ironically one of those very masculine Sigma Alpha. Sigma Alpha. Now it sounds like I'm talking about a sorority or something. But the Sigma male grind set things. They're great fun to follow because people take that stuff deadly seriously. But I don't lose. I either win or I learn something, but I never lose. And I think that is a kernel of wisdom we can glean from, wherever it may originate that still has value. I have learned far more by failing than I have by winning. Well, granted, I've won far more, far fewer times than I have I have won far fewer times than I've lost. So you take what you know, and if you've lost a lot, you start getting good at it. Hey, to put it that way, when you start getting the mindset of I'm going to lose most of the time, why not be good at it? And that's a mix of graciousness. That's a mix of understanding, and the only way to do it is go through. Now, I do apologize if my voice is a little harsh. I basically spent the last week with my wife eating like I'm not supposed to. And that has certain negative effects when I do so. But it was a vacation and it was, built upon my birthday. So it was a fun time, but now I'm really back to the grind. So let's see. True Donna, but that's okay. It should be a good time. Thanks, Carl. Beowulf number 4 is doing really well on Kickstarter. I'm proud and thankful to everyone who's been supportive, including the Nevermind crew. That's what we're here to do, folks. We're here to promote people who care, okay? Now, I get a lot of people who expect promotion, and I do it on a case-by-case basis. But when I see people who've been part of the community and they've been serving and they've put a lot of thought and effort into their project, I'm going to wade in and say, hey, let's see what we can do to help promote them, because I don't have the finances to do what I would do otherwise. This is why I do not have the huge comic book collection that others do, although I have quite a few Spencer Spooks. Wow, the vast majority of my comic book collection is Spencer Spook right now. At least on paper. Let's see. Wow, another quiet day. Where are the mischief makers today? I think everybody's still in recovery from the weekend. I think Labor Day weekend hit everybody hard this year because it was a holiday many people shared with a sense of vengeance, in that we lost so much time during the pandemic, and with looming whatever might go, there's a eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die mentality floating around there. So, I mean, I think everybody went out and did stuff, and now they're trying to catch up, which it's necessary. You got to live, folks. Lord knows I did my fair share of getting into stuff. Oh, Joe Bachman got sidetracked pricing stuff and forgot to put his headphones on to hear the show start. LOL. And when I mean supportive, I don't mean financially. I mean promotionally and emotionally. Absolutely, Grant Lanker. And we all appreciate our supporters. We're made possible by people like Joe Bachman, who graciously donated the funds so that I could get the fancy StreamYard. My Patreon folks over at Historical Fencing Guild, because they have funded and done so much to help my setup for that show, it helps this show. And I am eternally grateful to you wonderful people and the people who buy my books, because again, I don't make a lot of money, but it lets me feed things into the gestalt of getting better. And it is really appreciated. And I appreciate when people look beyond the funds. I talk about funds more than my predecessor because, frankly, I am still at the much hungrier aspect, I think, which happens. You have to stay hungry. And, of course, as I stream, huge farm equipment is going to lumber right by taking out there's a combine out my window. Y'all see it? Oop, nope. There goes. That's why we have noise, folks. Sorry about that. There's a convoy of trucks just going through, taking the corn out. Hey, we're feeding America out here. Your teasers have been chomping at the bit to get it, Grant. He does great teasers. Wow. We know, sweetie. We know. See, Donna knows. And Donna Carleen cares. The more you know. Oh, God, I can't even hit that note anymore. My voice is cracking these days. My God. Older gentleman. Did you hit 40 and have your voice do another drop? Is that just normal, or is it just like my cholesterol's acting up? I'm curious. It's the best issue yet, Donna. I'm not just saying that. Looks like it is picking up a fan or something running in the room. Yeah, I think I addressed that. Morning all. Good morning, Nick. Good morning, Jody McPhee. And when our buddy Jody McPhee shows up, we know what we need to do.
Hi, I am Joe D. McPhee. I am the host of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, and I want to cordially invite you to watch our show Saturdays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. On our show, we will have different guests as well as talk about the comic book industry and pop culture. And every so often, I might actually do a drawing session or a 3D rendering session every here and there. So once again, I want to invite you to watch From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher right here on the broadcast channel that you're looking at, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Hope to see you there, and make certain that you catch From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks.
Yep. Great to see you, Joe. Hope you had a good weekend or week. I mean, this is all topsy-turvy for me. So we're getting through it. And we'll go back to the comments. Yes. And we'll deal with the huge comment dump we just got, because it looks like folks are finally coming through the door. It's almost like Facebook and YouTube wait till about half an hour in to announce things. Now, where are we? There we go. More greens to Jody McPhee. I may need to become more withdrawn from groups and conversations. It seems like I get asked to participate in non-productive discussions as well. Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let's take a second there. Because one, I didn't do my accountability. Yes, I did take the majority of the weekend off. And the week off from my main projects. I'm about 300, 400 words into basically taking the Paul Bunyan Kaiju Hunter and taking it from, because I went straight in drawing it. It was something I needed to work on, and I'm taking it right from the comic to the script, which is a weird process because I know what all's coming, but describing things that I've already drawn feels, I don't think I've ever gone backwards in that process. But I got film noir lighting right now. I'm kind of digging it. But the writing is coming along, and I want to get that knocked out because it's only supposed to be a few pages so that I can pop that to Luke, and he can do it for the Out of Obscurity anthology. That will be the last non-paid project I do for quite some time. I am not currently taking on freebie projects because I am so far behind in my own. So, and that's Luke. Luke and I have a whole different arrangement than me and almost everybody else. After that, I get to go back to writing and editing some of the games I've delayed and other things, and I'm really excited. I just got kind of suckered because, I have sucker. It's tattooed right here in invisible ink. But like kids, animals, certain people can see that, and how they respond to knowing that I can be a softie when it applies tells me a lot about them, but it also can greatly shape my life and relationships. So it's a lot of fun. But no, I'm going to knock out that hopefully today, if all goes well. I'm also back. Xander had taken essentially a summer break from some of his studies, and I'm going to be dealing with that, which means I will also be dealing with the behavioral issues from that, which can be quite a bit. If that means dialing back some of my stuff or having to run a commercial while I deal with his increased anxiety, this is a rough time of year for him, traditionally. So we'll get through it. But that's what you need to do. You need to set your priorities and hold your priorities. And that the world will try to draw you into wasting your time arguing online about stuff that doesn't even matter. And it's a trap, and it is a parasite feeding off of the creatives, because all that we do when we get going on a silly argument like, is X show good or Y show good, is provide one, buzz for whatever the program is, whether it's good or not, and two, we waste our energy because it's going to talking about something else other people are doing. I get into this discussion a lot on Nerd Bacon because I want to know what you guys are doing the vast majority of the time. And if something's negative, I don't really fixate on it. I acknowledge it and go, I don't like that show. And then I don't watch the show. I don't think about it. I don't pay much attention to it. I have other things to do with my time. But there are going to be people who reach out and they want your attention. We live in a world where, and there goes the trucks again, attention is a commodity. Now, man, I just can't get out of the ums today. My brain just isn't like, I have not missed caffeine this much in a very long time. But that again, I broke several of my rules. I was up late last night listening to Robin Yoda's Twitch stream because she's an old friend, and drawing because I got pulled into what I want to be working on, which is a personal project of mine. Ooh, accidental fruit punch is accidentally good. But let's keep past that, okay? When you feel your attention is being drawn into excessive rants on pop culture, and when you could be talking about your creative process or learning something or doing something, don't let it. And when people pull at you, there will always be people who can't do what you do, and they want you to do for them with no exchange. Doesn't have to be monetary, but I do firmly believe in equivalent exchange. I have done a lot for, say, a shiny rock. I'm not kidding. I have taken very specific jobs for payment of a shiny rock, or it used to be the greatest way to get mechanicking done was to buy a certain beverage for one of my wife's cousins. Man would fix anything if you bought him the beverage and gave it to him after it was done. It's value without monetization, and we do that here. The people who promote my channel are going to get more attention on my channel. The people who comment, and those who give me material. Hi, Carl. I'm going to call you out right now. I'm going to say, Carl Witzman, I need commercials. And I'm going to be checking my commercial folder, because now that I don't have 10,000 people trying to rampage on the internet that's designed for 300 in my community, I can get more stuff done. But don't get pulled into those conversations. You got to rise above. That's what, I'm both in the rising tide, because the rising tide lifts all ships, and I wear white boots, because you can't walk in the muck in white boots. Rise above. Hey, Joe. Yep, that's why I'm antisocial at times. And when I'm in project mode, if it weren't for these shows, I'd pull down. It's just tricky finding out when my project time is. It's also why I don't stream on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are my day. I don't stream on Tuesdays. I barely watch streams on Tuesdays. I work on Tuesdays. I create on Tuesdays. I take care of family stuff on Tuesdays. Boy. Hail, Frog. Wait, we got Frog G in the house. Now, what was I just saying? I was just saying that we promote the people who promote each other as part of the wonderful world of equivalent exchange, and because we're awesome. If only I could do that for Frog.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? I'ma get it, you know I be on the what? Yeah, it's all hard, ain't no fear here. You ain't giving this to all, you steer clear. Never beat, I've been down and I reappear. You got some money on the line, you better put it here. Rolling in and doing that work.
Yeah, I am really excited to see what comes of Frog G's comic, because I've been hearing about this product for a long time, and Frog G is just one of those really cool people. Once, for those who watched my season on Red Valkyrie presents Dice Dames and Dudes, Dice Dudes and Dames, whatever, Triple D. If you know, you know. I actually immortalized Frog G as an NPC / mid boss, and when I can get done with this project for Luke on my rather lengthy post-it note pile of to-dos is Ravencleft Gorge, where I get to flush that out and add stats. But something interesting has happened on the way to Ravencleft Gorge, where I've realized I designed a great system for Luke, and we're working through the editing phase, and he's going to do his end on that. Yay! It's a great system. I've set up the superhero version for him. But I could take that system and make a fantasy version. A fantasy version. It's almost like I have 30 years of potential IP written up that I could do in a fantasy version. Yes. Glorious things are coming. Now, on a brighter note, says Joe D. McPhee, one of my old teachers reached out to me. We're going to catch up later and do a bit of follow-up where people landed after the classes. Awesome. Carlos Whitson, my problem is I've written 2 technical books about software, so they changed the software. It forces me to update the manuals. Well, the Audacity book probably won't get updated. That is a good book. And if I can keep Helium Hand, oh, sure, I'll help. Helium Hand, from going, I get to sit and read that and work on my projects, which all that's coming. Good things are coming. Hey, Frog. And Frog G is dropping the links for the Kickstarter for Beowulf number 4 and for Radio Retro Future, which we love. But I ran Bonsart's plug already. Morning, Frog. Less than 2 weeks to launch. Launching September 17th. Sign up now for Voodoo. Go! I did my whole animated bit with basically limited stammering. Today I'm all over the place. This is what happens when I break my rules. Okay. We'll try this again. Because now I'm getting annoyed with myself. Less than 2 weeks till launch. Launching on September 17th. Sign up now for Voodoo. I jumped the Voodoo. No, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Necessary evil. Come on. Less than 2 weeks till launch. Launching September 17th. Sign up now for Frog G, Voodoo Gods and Magic on Indiegogo. Man, you know what? I had to reach for that one, but Frog's worth it. I had to go there, and I got to do something about this window because now I'm getting distracted. Okay, my lighting's not so good, but my attention deficit is running rampant today. I'm going to have to check out something. Hail, Frog, Jody. Shape Up Your Memory work doesn't require updating. It's like your Spear book. Human memory hasn't changed too much in 10K years, just the bits that need recalled. Point. And given my difficulties today, I think I need to check up on mine because I'm wondering if I didn't miss a morning med. Plugging from the desk of Small Press Publisher is Frog G. Go on YouTube. Go follow from a desk of a Small Press Publisher and hear what Jody McVie has to say on an assortment of things when he's not on Comic Book Spectrum with Brian K. Morris. That's like we say we are never lost. We're on an adventure. Absolutely. Want more Jody D. McPhee? Check out Linktree/Sippo. All unsubmitted work is unpublished. You got to lose in order to learn to win. Just try. Just do it. Yes, that's what we're all about here. Just try. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Bonsart. And I want to thank you. Your commercial gave me the break I needed to take care of something that popped up right as the show happened. So it's done double duty in being useful to you and giving me that emergency 2-minute. Oops, I got to go check on something. You have to have a few of those in life, folks. You have to plan for things to go boink. Right, Hojo, and hello. Frog G, 10 days till launch. Aren't we excited? True failure is only achieved when you learn nothing from the experience. Absolutely. And we've got people are greeting Frog. Everybody's greeting everybody. And, you're launching on Red Valkyrie. 10 days, noon Eastern on Red Valkyrie Presents. That's one thing, guys. If Frog G has shared your links and you have a show, you should be at least promoting him. If you can get him as a guest, see if you can get him as a guest to promote his stuff. Frog's done a lot for this community and just a wonderful human being. And everybody's getting hailed. Fail. I love this. First attempt in learning. I'm enjoying the rest of the week off. Wonderful. Sponsor, everybody needs a break. Relax. We can barely hear the outdoor noise. Oh, good. Because it sounds like it is. It's giant rumbling trucks going by my door. Yay for farmers. Yes, that's an old farmer's daughter. I married a coal miner's daughter. And a farmer. And a bunch of other things. Charlie was an interesting person. I'm trying to keep... Apparently, my voice is in Barry White mode, and I'm not trying to do it, but it's really hard not to right now. You know that morning bubble sometimes you get on the phone? Mine keeps just sitting there. Doesn't even sound like me, but okay, we'll make it work. Shaking my head, trying to figure out why the theme to Mr. Belvedere is fun. Oh, no, that'll get stuck. Somebody mentioned Kraken? Yay for farmers, someone who knows where the food comes from. Howdy, Cindy. How are you? And since Cindy's here, you know what happens when Cindy Koepp comes walking through our doors.
Author Cindy Koepp is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Koepp at CKOEPP.com today.
And I bet I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. And yes, greetings, Cindy.
Hi, bunnies. This is Robin Yoda. Just wanting to let you know I have a Twitch channel.
That's Robin Yoda's commercial, which I didn't mean to click. I was trying to click the comments, but thank you for your patience. Today's going to be one of those more challenging days. They happen. And if I have to hop up and do that, that's part of being a dad. And I'm not going to hide it. I do just hate running a blank screen, but we'll get there. Let's see what all's going on in the links. After I find what all's going on in the links. I feel I'm a professional YouTuber today. Jeremiah's saying, hello, Cindy. Do you want to play a game? bit.ly/Stellari. Yeah, guys, that's going to be it's a great game. I haven't played it yet, but it looks like it has really simple, addictive mechanics, and that is something that really appeals. Cindy Koepp at studiohubris.wixsite.com/Cindy Koepp. Cindy's books at www.amazon.com/Cindy Koepp. Stellari, a quick game from the stars at the kck.st. That's the Kickstarter shortcut. 3B7C, lowercase h, uppercase h6. I sound like a number station. Stuart the Sword Cat is also mad at me today. It's one of those days. Rising Tide lifts all moods. Yes, it does. At a Studio Hubris wixsite/Risingtide.pub. Brian K. Morris, Rising Tide, www.youtube.com/C. Brian K. Morris, Rising Tide Publications. Go get more fun fightery stuff at 7 p.m. Central on Friday. Yes, at the Historical Fencing Guild. The temperature's breaking. I hope if the rain doesn't hit and I can get some stuff done, I may talk about things. Let's see. What shall I talk about? Possibly a longer-term review on this. Which is a very elegant little bush sword by Schrod. It has pros, it has cons, but it fits a certain hobbit quite well. Oops, bumped my mic. Sorry about that. Sorry. Forgot the link. That's okay. We should all know the link to the Historical Fencing Guild at www.youtube.com/C/Historical Fencing Guild. All one word. 10 days till launch. 10 days till launch. Get Neurosis on Amazon. That's Amy Hale's wonderful book series. She just does amazing stuff. And Liquid Armor, Smashwords.com. Look up Brian K. Morris. And Nazis Give a Slug to the Mug. Stellari is at 546 of 725. bit.ly/Stellari. Very cool books at Bear Publications. Oh, and Frog G sharing the link to Dice Dames and Dudes Season 1. Yeah, folks, you can see me stammering my way through an insane bit of RPG gamer goodness using the basic fantasy system from, I believe it's basicfantasy.org. Wonderful system you can download for free or purchase for like $5. If you're an old school gamer and you want, a bit more modern mechanics with that old school feel, it really is a great place to live. Cool artwork from Animal Eye is all over fun swag on bit.ly/pub. That's right. Frog did write a song for the show on episode 5. And boy, is it a banger. Now it's running heavily through my head. My cat is annoyed at me. Comic-related madness is increasing their lineup. Watch Pop Van Zant for nifty announcements. Ooh, Pops is up to something. And Royal Cruise has finished Animal Eye 3 art. See, that is the preview that you guys need to see. Check out his other art on artstation.com/Royal Cruise. Frog G, tickle the algorithm, smash the like, dingle the bells, and subscribe. Yes, folks, remember, we are independent creators at war with the mainstream forces, looming, towering, crushing, trying to keep our creativity down while force-feeding any IP it can into a vast network of artificial intelligence, hell-bent on replacing authors, artists, and writers into something easier to manage for the soulless business types. I mean, yeah! One of these days, one man, alone, in a Hawaiian shirt with a crumbling background, stands against the torrent of reality, trying to make your day just a little more amusing. And you can find him every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on Nevermind the Furthermore. Let's see what else. We have another comment dump. Ba-ba-ba-da-ba. And we're going to catch up a little bit. Oh, Raul Cruz. And get your own stuff with Raul's art at subscribestar.com/Raul Cruz. Art. And Victoria's working on Nepalese fantasy. In the meantime, get her very detailed, highly acclaimed by experts in the field, explanation of Job and advice for caregivers. That's one. If you can't hit by the way today's going, that might be one I actually have to stop talking about and read. Accountability, awesome. Been working on panels for Paige in Daz Studio over the last 3 days. Need to finish part 2 and 3 of the RPG module. Well, shoot with it. Give it the best shot. SL Roland just released the audio version of Sentence to Troll 5. You need one of them because trolls are heroes too. Ooh. Amazon.com/SL Roland. Well, and Studio Hubrix is at their site doing a webpage redesign and custom toys. Studio Hubrix wixsite.com/Studio Hubris 5. Go sign up for Frog G's pre-launch. Help beat the bots. And we have another comment dump. All righty. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Looking for geeky toys, comics, books, stuffed critters, and so on? Check out QuadCon. QuadCityComicCon.com. Morning, folks. Hey, Richie, glad to hear you. Or read you, or whatever. You know what I mean. Morning. Everyone's greeting Richie. Cindy Koepp is plugging the Des Moines QuadCon and QuadCon comic and toy show September 24th and 5th, which is a great place to find her to get a dragon book or giant hairy spider. Now, days have been off. Okay, Richie says, days have been off. I have a hard time remembering what day of week it is. It is very understandable. This coming back from a 3-day weekend always scrambles the rest of the week. I will give you a hint. It is Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. Live from New York. It's nope. Live from the cornfields. It's me trying to keep this together. So many comments. Here we go. Cool. Here's a quick story for you. Just had the communications director for INDOT call asking me about some closures we are doing soon. Uh-oh. And let's see. All his questions could have been answered if you read the emails that I sent about the closures. This meeting could have been a email vibe. Bless you, Joe, for staying home and containing the urge to turn green and smash things. The following weekend, go to Doobie QuadCon Comic and Toy Show, 5 Flags Event Center, October 2nd. I'll have some creepy stuff. Again, Quad City Comic Con. Ooh. And Cindy kept going on. Further, a few minutes, a set of custom poker chips, pen and paper. Play the game that alien characters in the I've heard her say this, and I knew I'd fallen into this. Jerusalem, not bad for me, brought to Earth. bit.ly/Stellari. I love the connected stories. And guys, hit the likes, hit the shares, because I want to get people's stuff out. This is one of the reasons Joe drinks occasionally. The communications director apparently doesn't read emails. Non-alcoholic, but I get the vibe. Been there, Joe. Oh, can people not read anymore? I do love the phrase, per my last email. Hey, Rich, at least he's not in a field where he has to communicate. Oh, womp, womp. And Cindy kept plugging yeolddragonbooks.com. Meet the Dragons for some new takes on old fairy tales. And Denver Martinez that does the Animal Eye colors, and their stuff can be found on deviantart.com/theraider05, where while you're there, favorite link and regularly go to deviantart.com/NateT. I have word that new art is coming frequently there, while that artist who shall remain nameless works on improving his stuff. Lots of fun to be had. Need a voice actor? Go facebook.com/SkunkRockerLive. It's not easy being green, though. Just saying. It's not easy being green. All right, you know what? Let's take a second and talk a little bit, because it's Wednesday, so that means I don't have quite so much press pushing on. And I have been watching She-Hulk, and doesn't follow the books. Not strictly. Doesn't have cringe moments. Occasionally. Have I had fun watching it? Yeah, I actually have. If anything, because I'm a huge Tim Roth fan, and his take on Abomination / Emma Blonsky is absolutely divinely hilarious. And it's one of those where the background story is going to be enough where I want to hear more in the absurdity factor. And it is a delightfully absurd. It's the first thing since I'm rewatching or finding where I was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Or I was. I twitched towards that. And I loved Agent Carter. Agent Carter was amazing. But this is the first, I think Marvel might be slipping into the Star Wars um, situation where the TV shows just are more fun for me than the movies. And if that makes me a bad fan, won't be the first time I've been called that. But yeah, great fun. If you can have fun with something, have fun with it. Tales from the Decoverse. Hey, that's for John B. Pica. He doesn't come out here anymore because he's so busy doing his Back of the Cereal Box Network, but he does Cryptic Crunch with our own Willow Schuyler, which is such a good time. Nerd culture for everyone, and that's the YouTube for that. Rush Along. Hope that helps. Probably, and I probably goofed it. In the books, let's see. And we had a comment dump. Okay, in the books, the Eshuvani, close enough, play a game called Stellaria. It's pretty simple, fast-paced game. It involves picking up one coin and doing whatever the face of it says, then flipping another over. When no coins are left, game is over. High score wins. Oh, see that? That sounds like that great little time burner. I do love those. And we're joined by Dave Drank of Genuine Comics. Hi, Dave. Hello. He's greeting everyone. Great to hear from you. Without shrieky, without getting shrieky or resorting to name calling, can anyone tell me what the outrage about Rings of Power is? While it's not the oh wow, the hype that made it out to be, I don't see why some people are miffed. Well, there are a few camps. Some are slightly more reasonable than others. First off, the Rings of Power did not get I think they only got a 30% licensing, where they can only use roughly 30% of their material is Tolkien canon. So it's very not canon, and it's not the stories it could be. So for the diehard Tolkien fans, which I am not, but I know many who are, that is something of a desecration. And you're reaching, when you hit something like Tolkien, you have to understand that for a lot of people who weathered the decades where being a fantasy fan or a geek was very limited, and being so could get you beat up. It's a very passionate thing. I think as the Forgotten Realms comes more and more mainstream with the movies, you're going to see more of this too, where people, for years, being a geek was a personal part of their their identity. I'm sorry, wrong word. And it defined them and the rules in a very quasi-religious level. The canon for many people of these long-standing series are something they devoted vast amounts of time and energy to learning as lore, as a it almost fills the gap we have in not having enough oral tradition of telling stories. So when new people take a long-term established canon and start putting it on its head, people get really, really riled about it. And you'll see that with Star Wars, especially when they got rid of the extended universe, Star Trek, see Kelvin and beyond, and of course the Tolkien universe. Very few people, and Tolkien hasn't been handled nearly as much as one would expect. So there are almost personal ramifications, and that is one group of people. There is another group of people who find diversity to be forced. They don't like the racial elements of they didn't there are black dwarves, and that greatly offends some people. I'll be honest, I haven't watched the show. I may not, but I don't carry a lot of that burden. So it's one of those where it needs to be talked about as a phenomenon. I would love to see what the sociologists who are smart enough to look up and go, we should study this, um, feel about it, because I think this might um, tie into some very, very big, very important subjects like the cultural identity of people, especially the cultural identity of white males, um, and how uh, diversity is affecting that, and how the approach to diversity is affecting that, is and how it's perceived to be, because there's a lot to be discussed there if people can step back from the emotions and the judgment and look at it um, for what it represents, because this actually can go right down to some really important conversations, and I don't know where or how to properly broach that a lot of that yet, because it's not, it seems like a very, very trivial problem. And it can be. Some people are simply racist and they don't like seeing black people represented. Some people are feeling erased. It's a zero sum, where to build up someone else, you have to take from someone. And I don't believe in either of these theories. I don't think it's necessary, but I think it can be presented that way. So this is actually, for what should seem a very small, and it's really easy to go, oh, that's just a bunch of I believe the phrase butthurt geeks who are upset about things that don't matter. And and there's a tragedy there, because in microcosm, this very weirdness that's coming up from things like this, things like She-Hulk, things like how Disney's handling of Star Wars, 343's handling of the Halo franchise. These fictions are fundamentally part of the culture and identity of a lot of people. And the funny thing is, it is a culture and identity that for years and decades, people were punished, mocked, ridiculed, and again, physically assaulted because that was their interests. And we live in a culture right now that totally disregards that as something that occurred and as something that could have left both a damage and attachment to things. Now, yes, there's some simple douchebaggery of entitlement going on as well. I'm not saying that isn't there, because that's there. That's a bad behavior. There are a lot of bad behaviors going on right now. But to stop them, we have to understand the cause. It's why, it's like the subject has a fever. Well, just give them Tylenol. Won't do them any good if they have, bubonic plague. You have to treat why there's the fever. And I really believe that there is a cultural fever going on right now in America. And I believe it is being fostered by some parties. And I think we can go beyond that, and understanding that, and then having conversations like this where people can safely discuss, because you have to understand, well, the most socially awkward often found comfort in the fantasy novels and in the sci-fi novels, in escapism, because they wanted to escape their lives. Therefore, when they are forced to come back and someone's messing with that, they still are socially awkward. They still have an inability to process and convey the depth of ideas they may be feeling, let alone emotions, because men in America have for decades been taught that having emotions, other than anger is allowed, arousal is allowed, and pride is allowed. Those are basically all a man is usually media based allowed to manifest. Anything else is a sign of weakness, and it must be crushed immediately and with excessive force. So there's a lot going on that front. That's my take. Let's see what the comments are on that, because you asked a very good question. Let's see. Gotta find where I was. Oh, I didn't click the thing back. Oz has zombies. Okay, no. Okay. Amazons are all over. Okay. Cindy's plugging YouTube user / Slivbolt. Frog G's great greeting Genuine Comics and plugging Perfect 10 issue 3. Perfect 10 is a series that if you loved 90s era image style or Top Cow style titles, you will love Perfect 10. American Bliss, Father's Pride. I don't know much about that title, but it is on Go-Go. She-Hulk is a TV show. Again, it was made for a broader audience. It's fun, but not a comic book TV show. Adding the Stanley enough said at the end. Okay. I'll float it there. I will say the animation handled it better. She-Hulk was handled wonderfully in Agents of Smash for being a little more comic canonically. But that's the exact point. It's the current cultural disregard for canon removes a huge chunk of people's core identities and the fictions they've lived in for so long. It's very, very jarring. Warriors are now in quadruplicate. That's Michaela Jade's books. Rift Riders over at Luke Stone Studios. Yes, and the hybrid stuff is going on. And remember, you can still get Hybrids: The Sons of Gods, the role-playing game, over on Luke Stone's site. Oz has zombies. Comixology / Eric S. Hawkins, alumni and member of Comic Book Spectrum, comics creator and some numbers. Storming the Gates, Stormgate Press. Cindy, is there a way I can get expanded physical game with digital copies of the book? Let's see. Thanks. My roomies were curious about Rings of Power, so we watched the 2 existing episodes. Slow mover, very multi-threaded, interesting, but has some getting started issues. Could be fun as it develops. That sounds good. What would you give that a rating, as in like PG, or is that something that would be probably Xander accessible? Won't sociology issue be more or less diversity versus social identity? To me, it comes off as personal bias versus understanding cultural inclusion. And that's interesting because that mentality negates the concept that the geek culture exists as a culture. And it seems there is, and that's part of it is diversity versus self-identity. That's part, and part of it is a disregard that the culture existed before it was popular and before it was changed. That it can be perceived as devaluing anybody who was there. It's the same thing we see with the future is animation and movies and not comic books, or the future is VTTs and not tabletop gaming. When progress is built with a approach to disregard the past, there's always a backlash. But I think it's part of a bigger problem. But hey, sociology was only one of my minor focuses, my secondary focuses. Hi, Ice Queen. Hello, Ice Queen. Hello, Frog G. Absolutely. Let me create an add-on for digital books. Thanks for the idea. I'll have that taken care of today when I can get to a real computer. Wonderful. That's what I love seeing, businesses stuff being done. Ice Queen's YouTube user Cat Steel 71. Hey, we love to promote folks, Ice Queen. You seem really cool. Looks like a fun game. I say that because a lot of times I've been an outsider and felt isolated when bias comes in cultural inclusion, as if said bias was correct due to tradition. And it is. Tradition versus progress is a major conflict. And let me put this up. As an outsider, I'm wondering how much of it is racially divided. I can see that. And that is definitely part of the problem. The problem is it's not the entire problem. And if we only treat part of the problem and not the entire problem, a huge chunk will remain. I'm not disavowing it, but I think that's the that's the obvious side. And I don't know which is root. And I also think they're parallel problems. They both exist in the same space, but they're parallel. Both can exist without the other. Does that make sense? Yes, I know that. Actually, that does make sense. That's fairly good. Hi, Carl. We got greetings. Heroes are made at the Hero Maker. And greed. Greed is a thing. A lot of stuff is simply their focus grouping to get things to the most people. And in hopes that broadening an audience will bring in the most money. It is a business tactically sound decision. It's just handled incredibly poorly as a rule. I've heard of a cure for a fever. Oh, I bet. There's too much negativity. There's too much negativity across the board. That's why I produce such positivity. I will look at a problem. I'll say, this is the problem. Now, I'm not trying to blame anybody. Blame doesn't do any good. You people, no. But the negativity, we can't solve problems from a negative mindset. You just create more. That was so well put. I've been trying to explain the point about changing characters for political agendas. And it really is the zero-sum thing. I love diversity. I love well-written characters. But it has to be done with respect. It has to be done with the plot in mind. When it's done as a gimmick, it comes off shallow and insulting. And it doesn't need to be zero-sum. If you have a character, you do not need to destroy one character to make another character manifest. You can have two characters, especially when there are neglected characters and neglected public domain characters that could be used. But when we have to weaken this character to build up this character, the warping process, amongst other things, never works well for plot. Rings of Power, I put it PG-13, semi-graphic violence. Galadriel drives a dagger through the skull of a troll, and there's some implied nudity, nothing shown. That's okay, because as a parent, I prefer to show violence that has consequences, e.g. cutting someone hurts, shooting someone kills them. There is blood, rather than fully sanitized to my son because I find it deters violence in him. Let's see, what else we have? Don't forget to tip your host. Yes, if you are feeling generous, you can actually tip me at paypal.me/Nicholas Tockert. And I am going to run a commercial for a second. Because I need to run. Yeah. I want to talk about Apphelion because it's such an important part of the online literary community. It's been there so long. So I'm going to run down Hollifield's commercial.
Hi there, my name's Dan Hollifield. I'm the senior editor and publisher of Aphelion website. Aphelion has been online since 1997. Since then, we've brought you the very best amateur science fiction and fantasy writing, and given the world at least 100 brand new professional writers from those who have walked through our doorways. So if you enjoy reading, look for Aphelion. That's www.aphelion, APHELION webzine.com. A quick Google of Aphelion-webzine will give you everything you want to know, plus 20 years worth of our backlog of files, our archive of stories stretching back until February of 1997. Think of Aphelion as a permanent floating writer's workshop dedicated to helping new writers become proficient enough to become professional writers and best-selling writers. We have over 100 success stories to our name, and if you're an amateur writer, you may be our next triumph. And if you just like to read stories, we've got plenty of them for you. Just come on by and visit. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, guys. Duties have been an absolute pain today. But we are getting there. I have not had this many interruptions in a while. Basically, one of the corn stalks flew up and hit my door. So I thought somebody was knocking. And it was just a projectile piece of vegetation. It happens. Let's get back to the comments. Okay, let me see where we were. There we are. I only say that because a lot of times I've been an outsider looking and feel like, okay, that's where we were. Cool. And I fully understand. It's not easy. And it's been very hard for people of color. I believe that's the proper way to phrase that. And women and people of alternative lifestyles. The comments. You know what? Let me put it this way. I'm going to rewind. I'm going to Nicky's the heck out of this. It's been hard for folks who aren't pale white hetero dudes. Pale white, yeah. But I gotta say pale white because even having a tan can get people funny to get into certain parts of geek culture, and that's wrong. And that is a very real thing that happened, and I will never disavow that because, frankly, I spent my entire 20 years of teaching people to sword fight, which is an aspect. I came at it from the SCA, which is medieval recreation, and apparently people forget the Moors exist, but that's neither here nor there. That's a different conversation. But I believe that everyone should have every right to participate in every art, and if they choose not to, they should have that freedom. And I've been there when there was only like one black guy who would play D&D or Magic, and I've been there when my wife would walk into the comic book shop and then the game shop to get stuff, and they wouldn't serve her because she's a woman. They wouldn't talk to her, just totally ignored her. I've had staff tell my wife, ma'am, you don't belong here. At shops. Those shops are no longer in business, thank God. But it is a struggle, and it is a real struggle, because I believe geekdom exists for everyone, and representation is important. But at the same time, representation can be different than the issues with canon. And just like some people use the excuse of canon issues to be biased and bigoted against people who are of color or female or present female or whatever, There are people who will use the conflict of race to ignore the other issues with canon, or bigotry or whatever. I will give an example that will put me slightly in the crosshairs, and I've had people very offended. I was not happy when the Doctor in Doctor Who regenerated into a woman. Now, I'm going to explain why, but if I stopped right there, I would have a line of issues. And I've had people come yell at me, tell me I'm being bigoted, etc., without understanding my reasoning. And I will give you my reasoning. Firstly, I spoke earlier on the emotions and presentation that men have been culturally, in my upbringing, allowed to manifest. They can manifest pride, arousal, or anger. And if you look at movies in the period, let's look at the 80s movies. That basically was the three positive traits of a male in America depicted. Be they white, black, Hispanic, whatever, Asian. I you know what I mean. Pride, anger, or being aroused, being attracted to a woman. Doctor Who, for decades, was the only, or one of very, very few significant characters who manifested kindness and caring without any loss of being masculine. This was a rare and important cultural thing. Much like I watched many, many mysteries, because they were for a long time, before, basically, with rare exceptions, you get people like Maverick, or you get people like Yancey Derringer, and then MacGyver. Very rarely was intelligence way up there in a viable skill. A lot of times, if you look at the characters that are presented as optimal, it's they're proud, they're angry, and they're sexually aroused by attractive women. And that's what strength was defined as. Not necessarily intelligence, although it's part of it. Certainly not emotional intelligence and being able to communicate. These things weren't. This is why I identified with a lot of the detectives. Poirot. I want to talk accidental ethnic identification. Poirot. Hercule Poirot, the Belgian detective, was fastidious. He was intelligent. He was caring in his own unique way. And they poked fun at it, but it was also, it's part of what makes him him. But outside of the mystery genre, you didn't see a lot of that comparatively. And it certainly wasn't culturally, especially for a teenage male or a young man aspiring to be a teenager. We've all been, well, those of us who are male have been there. Or a teenager trying to figure out what being a man means. But Doctor Who, for me, was the pinnacle of it's okay to be intelligent. Heck, it's okay to be smart enough to realize you are not physically strong enough to engage a threat. Escape. Besides the Doctor, how many heroes actually flee from the bad guy because they can't win right now? It's incredibly rare. And he cared. He genuinely cared. He cared about sentience. I mean, like even you look at the Ninth Doctor, who I lovingly refer to as PTSD-4, Eccleston talking to this plastic ooze, trying to eradicate the world and turn it into a pestilent pile of pollution. He wanted, don't make me do this, please. I can solve you. I can negate this, but I don't want it. The best moment being episodes later where the "Are You My Mommy" and the "Just this once, everybody lives." That caring, that striving to have everybody survive. Not, I'm going to solve my position by just putting a 9mm through whatever my problem is. And for years I heard, oh, well, that's a feminine trait. Men can't do that. It doesn't matter for men. Men don't need that. For decades I heard this. So when they took the Doctor and had him regenerate into a female, I found that painful, because I took that as a shot that no, really, these are traits that don't belong in a man. If you have these enough, you will become female, which is something that was accused to me directly for a long time by certain people in my life. That's what you call a zero-sum change for diversity. To build a female Doctor, they had to remove the male Doctor. And the representation, I love the idea of a female Time Lord running around. See, that's why canon matters. There was this chick named Romana, and I used chick, I shouldn't have. It just came out of annoyance. But this beautiful, intelligent woman kept up with Doctor, one of his best companions, and her name was Romana. They could have brought her, given her her own show. I mean, canonically, Gallifrey stands. After everything, Gallifrey stands. So you had an opportunity. We could have had the River Song show. We could have had the Doctor's Daughters program. They could have run side by side. But it was necessary to take that step. And that's without accounting to Chibnall's belief that canon doesn't matter and rewriting, 50 years of storytelling on a whim. But that was important to me. And I can look at that and go, those stories help make me me. You can write more stories, but why do you have to erase or change the existing ones? That's where it starts, where the feeling generates, and that's a dangerous thing, because you're not taking something tangible from someone, you're taking something intangible, and it starts to feel like erasure. And that has been done in the past horrifically, and it was always wrong to do that, and it's wrong to do that now. So now that I probably said something very spicy for my channel, let's go through the comments. At least that's how sometimes people feel. I bet this got spicy. Hey, Carl. Hey, Jeremiah. Thanks. And greed. Okay. Negativity. That's well put. Rings of power. Don't forget to tip your host. Starting Art 76 for vintage cartoony stuff. Here we go. Peter Jackson was invited to direct the new Lord of the Rings, but when he asked for the script, it was nothing but crickets. One red flag was the mismanagement behind the scenes. And this may run into something else, because there's another approach to dealing with this. I read the Dresden books. I recently fell off because they went in a different direction. And then I saw the Dresden TV series, and a lot of key things were changed in the Dresden TV series. But it was a wonderful series. And once I was able to step back and go, this isn't the book, this is the series. This is a what if. This is a Marvel, this is Dresden Universe Part 2. And enjoy it, I was fine. I think I could do that for Lord of the Rings, but we can't. There's a habit recently of not writing a cohesive story, but using other means to try to establish its value. And I'm not sure I like that. That's why write better. And one thing I tell people, I get on Nerd Bacon, we get on these talks, is I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about what I don't like. And I want to say I have no issue with Jodie Foster. I have no issue with any of the actresses. And I think that's really idiotic for people to get mad at the actors or actresses in a role when they've just taken a job. If you don't like the writing, take it up with the writer. Robert Pattinson is a wonderful example. You don't like Twilight? Fine. The guy can still act. One role should not define positive or negative an individual. And as creatives, we need to look at this and go, is this working? Is this working? And how does that affect us? Because whenever you see something you don't like, I say you have a couple things. You can say, I don't like this. That's fine. You can explain why, but you don't need to make that your identity. You don't need to harp on it constantly. You can either watch it and realize I may like some portions of it, give it a fair chance. I'm working through with the doctor and catching up, but it's sort of in review, because that was my whole problem, was the concept. But Peter Jackson, and the above statement sums why I want to withdraw from the boots. I see both sides too much, where people make it. It seems like they're arguing to be right, not just getting their POV despite bias. Yeah, there's a lot of bias out there, and we all have it. I picked talking about that because I knew it would put me in the opposite chair I normally sit in many people's perceptions, because I try to look at things issue by issue. And comics, it may be issue by issue, literally. But that means being able to sit on the other side of the table. You want to be a better student, teach something. You want to be a better reader, write. It works both ways. You want to be a better writer, you got to read. You got to study. You also got to read for pleasure and then reread for understanding. It's not a higher form of reading. I will never believe that, but it is a valid form of reading. But let yourself enjoy it first. Cindy Koepp says, #bring cookie home. Absolutely. A problem I have, diversity used to be a side effect of our open society. Now diversity is a goal in itself, excluding more and more people in the process. Interesting point. I think it's necessary to be diverse, in that it's fair. It's like when I go, I want to hire, I think of, I want a character, and I want them to have this trait. Unless there's a specific reason, either the historical setting or the geographic location, race is the last thing I think of, because I want to see, could X actor play a role successfully? One of the greatest versions was the Nick Fury. When Marvel the Ultimate Universe, switched Nick Fury from being an Irishman trope, because he was an angry Irishman trope, to basically Samuel L. Jackson, and approaching it from with that angle in place. That's some of the best writing, best application. It fit the character, and Sam has owned the character since he got it. Before it was even, the creator said, "This is Sam Jackson. We want Sam Jackson," and I think that's great. I think that's how it can be done right. I think mantles can be passed effectively. That's why I really want to see Shuri as the Black Panther. It makes sense. It's a hierarchical title. There isn't another male heir that we really know of. The job needs done, and she certainly has the talent, and she demonstrated the physicality. That's how you do it right. It fits in the plot. When it's about telling the story right, it enhances. But when it's there for the sake of being there, it's like bacon. It's like bacon. I like bacon in things. I like bacon. Bacon is good stuff. But I actually used to work at a brewery for a very short period of my life, where one of the things they offered was this cube of fried bacon. It was literally like a thick cut chunk. And it was, exceptionally greasy, and it was, because of the way it was prepared, it was almost rubbery. But it was part of the bacon is everything craze. And it sort of defeated the purpose in my mind. It went bizarre. So when any idea is not handled properly, even the most noble, Superman can be written as an incredible character or as an absolute pine board that just happens to be impervious. Is it the character's fault? No. It's the writer's handling of the character. So these are complex things, and as writers, as creators, and I believe that we are all the IP producers of the future. I write everything that I write with a purpose, and I write it with sidelines in place. If you're writing characters, it helps to envision the cast. It helps when you're writing fiction to say, so-and-so would make a great version of this character. And a lot of times I find it's character actors I can't remember their names of, but I know who it is. And that means you're thinking in terms of how would it be cast, how would it be filmed. It's a great way, especially for comic books, because comic books are basically at one level, and it's not the highest nor the middle, but at one level they can be understood as the epitome of planning out the scenes, of storyboarding. They're really much more attractive storyboards. You have the picture, it tells you the shot, you have a description, maybe some dialogue. I just got done doing one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life. This is the storyboard script thing for the pilot that Mike Jimmy is doing. This could be read simply as a 9-panel comic book, very easily, for Tiny Travels. Fascinating work. So we need to talk about that, because how we feel about that should affect how we write. Joe has an amazing perspective on being an outsider in certain things. I respect that, and there's nothing wrong with writing from that perspective, because you're writing what you know. If you don't know something, you better research and talk to people who do. And we have that opportunity. So there's a lot to unpack here. It's a good program. It's a good idea. Let's go back to the comments. Jump on a call about that. Dad service, whatever you need. Richie Asplin recently lost his father, and he and his family are in our thoughts and our prayers. And Richie, if you need anything, you know to reach out to me, brother. And yes, you can find my art at deviantart.com/Nick T. I've been there for 18 years. I leave my old stuff up so you guys can see progress. Frog G had to hop, good. And Joe Bachman had to hop. And radio, how's a side effect? Diversity has been there in most society, been developed before most society has been developed in the way it is. Seems bias allow to control society in an efficient way. There, like I said, there are biases, and they have to be addressed. I'm not ever attacking diversity. I believe it's important, and I want diversity. I want representation of characters. I simply want it done well, without the shortcuts of it being gimmicky, or we're going to turn. They back in the 50s, 60s, Lois Lane got in a machine and turned black to find out what it was like to be a black woman. I mean, wow, that aged interestingly. It can be handled poorly. It can also be handled well. I believe it's done best for all parties if it's handled well. And Don Carly says, I had a problem with the local cigar shop. Wouldn't even greet me because I was female in a male domain. Hello? I spend more there than Carl does. Exactly. And that's how we have to fix that. That's the idiocy that needs to be addressed. When you have that kind of a level of stupid. And it's stupid. Now, I am not pro-smoking because I've lost people to lung cancer. That's why you may notice that I promote a lot of shows. I do not promote any programs that are on the subject of tobacco use, and I do not promote programs on the subject of alcohol use, because I am not about those things. And while I don't hold it against anyone else, I cannot, in good conscience, promote them. That being said, you should have every right to go anywhere that he does, because there's no reason for that to be exclusionary. It's stupid, especially when secondhand smoke is a thing anyway. I mean, it's literally that dumb. But you know what? I can give you the opposite. I could give you a wonderful story of me being in your boat. I'm the artist in the family. I am also kind of the fashion consultant, shockingly. And my wife, whom I love, went to the, I believe it was the Fashion Bug in Valparaiso, Indiana, because they were having a sale on plus size clothing. She's a plus size woman. And she was in trying things on, and what she would do is she would try something on, open the door, say, how does this look? Does this work? Yes or no? And I would say, yeah, that color's great for you. No, that's not right. That's not going to do what you want it to do. And that's part of how we shop, because she's more confident with my assistance in developing her personal style, especially at that time. So I'm sitting there and she's changing up. There's one other person there on the far end of the store, and a cashier lady. The cashier lady walks up to me and she goes, "Sir, this is a woman's store." Yes, I'm waiting for my wife. There's usually what's affectionately known as the husband chair. I'm sitting in the husband chair. Anybody who's been in a woman's store knows there's one chair, usually not far from the changing area, that's sitting there. That is the husband chair. So that we have a place to sit while they change things, and then we can talk to them. Mama came, I've gimped my way in, and she says, well, you're near the undergarment section. Yes. My wife is trying on undergarments and then putting her shirt over them and saying, how does this look? Trying to prevent quad boob. And if you know, you know. Well, you're making the customers uneasy. I'm going to have to ask you to go elsewhere. All right. Thank you. Have a nice day, ma'am. And I left. Didn't argue, didn't say anything. My wife comes out, pile of clothes. Where's my husband? Oh, well, he was making people uncomfortable, so I asked him to leave. He had the money. And they lost about $300 in sales because we went over to Lane Bryant, met a nice lady there, or the old manager. Her name was Tammy. Remember, I had severe memory loss issues. I can still remember her many years later. Said, so my wife wants to shop, and she's going to ask me what she looks. Am I welcome to wait here, or is there going to be a problem? Because if not, we'll go down to the next store. She's like, oh, no, we'll help. And she bought a lot of clothing and got a card so that because she had become a librarian. She had gotten as a head of circulation, and she needed to update her wardrobe. And it's like, I got run out. It's like I've had Walmart employees, sir, why are you over here? This is, and they look over the shoulder, the feminine hygiene aisle. I point to my ring, which I used to wear. I can't wear a ring anymore due to having flattened it on my finger too many times. I said, you see this ring? It means I'm married. It entitles me as a pass card to be anywhere in the store. They've changed the packaging. So now I have to look at the picture of the old packaging, because that's what professional husbands do. You get set for that stuff. You have a picture of the packaging. Check the brand and the phrasing to make sure it lines up. Is there some reason you don't want my money? Well, no. I mean, explain to me why you're coming at me over this issue. That happens to me once in a while because, frankly, I'm a white male in America, and America is biased towards me in certain ways. It's happened enough that I can understand it. For others, it's constant, and that's bull. But we need to recognize that it's there and recognize that that's a problem, but that's not the only problem. And we can deal with more than one problem at a time. And when we approach our writing, we get to decide, are we going to write about that, to say something about that is in our culture? Are we going to ignore that as it's not relevant to the story? These are important questions, and I challenge people to ask important, uncomfortable questions and look at your answers. And if you're not comfortable with your answer, you have to ask, why? Why am I not comfortable with the answer? And then do something about it. Well, let's see. Good. Radio Retro Future says, I never said diversity is a new thing, but no, there are worlds where, but nowhere in the world is much diversity in liberal countries. In as much diversity in liberal countries. Certainly not the levels we have now. Okay, so what he's saying is the world has become much more of a melting pot. And it has. We have, because as travel has allowed, we are more. Now, history is far more diverse than it was. What happened is Victorian England basically whitewashed a lot of history. And I will admit that freely. And there is much more white male washed. It changed things. It's very strange. And literally what Victorian England did was take the canon of history and try to reshape it to fit their current belief systems. And it produced a lot of fallacies that radiate through culture, especially American culture today. So I see where he's trying to get. Whoops. To create diversity was not a policy unto itself, a situation developed to allow it to happen. Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't understand. You're adding context and ideology that proves the point about bias. When you look at things on an even plane, concepts from diversity aren't as visible. I'll be honest, I'm having trouble parsing that sentence. Problem is going against bias is also going against human nature. It's a hard thing to do. That is a nature versus nurture debate, and I believe it's far more nurture than nature. You look at children, especially very, very young children, they don't see race. That is a construct we have created sociologically. And I believe it is frankly, a horrific thing to exist, and it's balderdash. The idea that the color of one's skin somehow justifies or degrades the content of their character is nothing short of villainy. It's vile and noxious, and I won't stand for it. But I will not also say that it is a natural thing to do. Now, getting over the mental training that you have, that is a hard thing and an admirable thing. To try to transcend that when it is how you were brought up is a hard thing to do. And we live in a time where race, orientation, religion are all striving to be more accepted, and that is a noble thing, because we need to tolerate people far better than we do as a world, as a species. We aren't handling it well, but we also have to be careful not to try to force conversion on people in any direction. Everyone should tolerate each other's ideas, and I am for that. But that also means you have to tolerate the culture and ideas the other way, unless there's something inherently wrong, such as bigotry. Bigotry needs to be addressed, but if you attack someone, even when they're wrong, if you present it first as an attack, they will defend, not analyze your statement. Does that make sense to you? Do you get what I'm saying? If you come up going, "You are wrong," all that's going to do to someone who's been brought up on an ignorant viewpoint or a one-sided viewpoint, which I find a form of ignorance usually. If you don't look at both sides, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to comprehend what they're saying. Save for certain extremes. That won't allow discussion. That will only further conflict. And I am all about, I'm an hour late because I believe that having this discussion is important. Because this isn't just making us better people, in my opinion, which it does. It makes us better writers. It makes us better creators. And understanding these complex issues, sorry, my nose itches like crazy, will help us broach how we choose. And you may disagree. And guys, I love it. What we're seeing here is a fairly civil discussion. And when we discuss instead of debate, we move towards a solution, not a winner. And that's what I am about whenever possible. I want a solution. I'm totally comfortable being in error if I have made a mistake, it is a genuine mistake in life and done without malice, allow me to be educated if that's the truth on any given subject. But that can only come through discussions like this, which is why I do what I do. I want to build people up, I want to educate people, and I want to encourage creativity. Now, let's see. Okay, I'm not that far behind temporally. I am plot-wise. Oh, wait. No, I lost my boink. My tie down. So give me a second. Where in the world in more diversity than in Western countries, according to you? Okay. What's happening is people are typing fast, and English isn't Bonsert's first language. So I have to break this down a bit. Plus, my dyslexia is firing off. From the desk, where in the world is there more? Where in the world is there more diversity than the Western countries, according to you? And honest answer is no. If the world is truly diverse, stories and history of civilization would not have a biased slant. Again, we could not have lost segments of cultures. And Bonsert replies, I don't think we use the same definition of diversity, but it is fine. And yeah, I think we literally have in the comments a linguistic breakdown. But both gentlemen are being civil enough to realize neither of them are conveying. It's like they're trying to have a conversation where the radio is breaking up. And I applaud the civility. That's important. My employer has a diversity inclusion initiative, which involves ensuring there's a specific number of diverse people who must be interviewed or considered for each level of the interview process. At least twice, perhaps 3 times, I got the definite impression I was interviewed to make that quota. That isn't diversity and inclusion. Yeah, that's where you get people trying to forcibly solve the problem without fixing the problem. And that's not good for anybody. I think the people who should get hired for any given job are the people who are both willing to do the job as described, have the capability to do so, and are the best available at the time, regardless of color or orientation or physical ability if it doesn't apply. There are jobs I have wanted in the past that I could not apply for. At one point in my life, I was in training to get the backpack test to become a forest ranger. And that's when my back went boink. I have lived with that. But I also understand, right now and looking back, I physically cannot do that task. It would be silly for them to try to make me do that task. I guess I get very simple on such things. Because when I see bias, I refuse bias, simply. I refuse to have it. It's about, do they have the skills and the ability to do a job? And that's what we should lean toward. The world has been diverse for centuries: race, gender, orientation, ethnicity. The issue is the acceptance of those differences from ourselves and equality. Absolutely. And that can only change with education and open communication. Our modern education system is still a very new experiment comparative to the old ways of like apprenticeships and such. It's a very different way. And I think it's vital, and I think it threatens the hierarchy of power, which is why it's being sabotaged. And the excuses they use to sabotage that are these biases. They use bias to justify uh, unethical business practices that allow people to become excessively wealthy at the suffering of others. And I believe that to be parasitic. But that now we're starting to go, okay, why is this in place? Okay, why is this in place? You keep asking why, and what you end up, I keep finding, is a lot of the core is class division and maintaining class division so that the extremely wealthy can stay extremely wealthy by fooling the next levels down that they are economically better than they are, as long as they hold the people down beneath them. And that, I feel, is it's wrong. It's just wrong. Now, let's see. Oh, that's why I tend to agree to disagree on topics like these. It's also why I tend to leave and withdraw, because it's the point where it's completely fruitless. Well, there's that, and there's, like I said, there's linguistic and discussion issues. There's some dialect issues that can come up, and I find that another point of interest when I look at this debate. I like understanding why things go wrong so I can prevent them. And let's see. It is. And I realized I switched definitions of diversity myself. There's diversity as a concept, and then there's diversity as a buzzword marketing term. This right here is one of the most important little chunks of sentence that I have heard in this whole conversation. That understanding that the language is being turned to mean things. That's now, see, this is starting to get to progress. And it's funny because it only came when basically both sides went, wait a second, this stuff, it feels like they're having two separate conversations at each other and they're not connecting because they're talking about two different terms with the same word. This is fascinating. And that right here, what we witnessed after 2 hours and three minutes is one of the most important things that can happen as an adult, as a writer, as a reader, as a human trying to make sense of this world. The simple misdefinition or alternate definitions of a word can prevent a conversation from being a conversation, and they become two talking points, whereas voices just yelling into infinity next to each other. That is of great value and wonderful perspective. Thank you, Bonser. The cats are trying to rally for feline power. I think it's feeding time. Everyone have a great okay, I'm coming day. Yeah, they've been in here today demanding food. See y'all Friday. What Cindy describes is bias in form of diversity. It's called a diversity hire. And what it is when there is over and mishandled compensation, restitution, no. Basically, a lot of things that happened in the world conceptually are on a pendulum of power and right and justice. I need an actual pendulum. It's really surprisingly weird that I don't have a proper pendulum. This will do. Okay? Pendulum. And on one side, you have oppression by the existing power. And on the other side, you have excessive restitution / punishment. And what happens is the pendulum goes back and forth. And what we want is a stable, sane system. This will stay like that pretty much most of the time, where everybody's getting a fair, balanced share. But people will always try to keep it going, because as long as it's going, it's not stable, and you can't tell, and you're fighting over this, not who gets a share. So, little bit of visual props. Guys, this has been a fascinating, lengthy discussion. Thank you for coming in, and I appreciate the people who stayed through it. I want to run a couple commercials, get a little back on track, and I want to talk about briefly. Last night, due to physical pain, was up much later than I usually am, and I got to watch my friend Robin Yoda's Twitch channel, which I think is Robin Yoda B on Twitch. And here's her YouTube channel. Please subscribe to her if you like little reviews of games and things. And if you want kind of that wholesome, accepting, mellow conversation while she plays a game called Stardew Valley and some other things on her Twitch channel. So I'm going to run her.
Hi, bunnies. This is Robin Yoda, just wanting to let you know I have a Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Robin Yoda. You can catch me there Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific playing Stardew Valley, Saturdays at 2 p.m. playing The Sims 4, and Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific playing a random game from my Game Pass library. You can also find me Mondays on my YouTube channel, Robin Yoda the Lilac Bunny. I hope to see you all there. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I want to support her because she's trying to get stuff out. I also wanted to plug my boy Luke, because what he's doing for fundraising is going to possibly change the system, taking fundraising and making it a crowdfunding and making it a individual process instead of a external platform is a fascinating effort. And what he's trying to do with that is launch the Hybrids, the Sons of Gods trade paperback. So as wonderful as that universe is, which it is, if you're into Claremont era X-Men, the process that he's handling things is equally fascinating. So I'm going to run his plug.
Welcome to Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. The epic remaster of the original Trash Day arc is now being collected in a standard trade paperback. With more story, more art, and behind-the-scenes information, this book is the way creator Luke Stone intended the story to be told. This special Arrow Comics Remastered edition is full of energy and excitement. Critically acclaimed and one of independent comics' favourite teen books, you are sure to find yourself lost in this expansive universe. So, secure your copy today in this crowd-funded group buy. Once the funds are collected, the books will be sent off to print and delivered post-haste. Luke and the Arrow Comics team have a perfect record of fulfillment. You can pledge with confidence.
And like I said, that's what I'm about. I want to promote creators who are doing diverse things. Not just writers, but artists and the people who are trying to make things better. I'm here to provide a boost to the signal of those people and try to talk about important ideas. We built, because this isn't a shill show. There are a lot of other shill shows. Nerd Bacon is occasionally a shill show, but it is an important place to talk about these ideas. And I want to thank everyone. I have one more brief ad because I have to do this for her. And then we'll do some closing thoughts. Now, right now we're running Kat Rothmel's amazing little clip of her art. She does art stickers, she has all sorts of merch. But more importantly, she's out there trying to support and build up other instructors and young artists at the same time. She is our rock and roll art goddess, and she is doing amazing things. She does gallery shows. She has 3 books. It's Adventures of the Rock and Roll Art Goddess, book 1. You can be a SEL superstar, and Kelly Takali Rothenmel's Mrs. Rothenmel's Mindfulness. All these books are very helpful for artists and art instructors, and I'm looking forward to promoting her stuff as she goes a little more public with it. So, in closing, after this rather lengthy show, looks like most of the comments have died down. Yes, we're out of comments, which is good. It means I've done my job. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having these discussions so that we can improve. Because I'm about building people up. And to build people up, one thing you have to have is a firm, solid foundation. And while I do not predicate that on specific religious beliefs, I do predicate that on the necessity for a set of morals and mores that instill kindness, intelligence, analysis of yourself and others so that you can improve. You can't improve without paying attention. And you can't improve without fair, open discourse. And we have had that today. It's fascinating to see. It's fascinating to discuss. And I hope, I admit I'm a little nervous that I'm going to look at my subscribers and I may have lost a few. But I hope I'm helping the people who are around. And if you disagree with me on anything I say, feel free to politely engage in the comments. That's why I have an active chat. Not just to help plug people, because I love doing it. I am the mighty manatee man, master of marketing. But I'm much more interested in promoting ideas, techniques, thought exercises. Because if we grow as people, we all grow as a species. And that's, yes, it's incredibly outscaled for my capacities, but I want in some small way to help that, to make the world a better place, using what talents I have, no matter how meager they may be. So what I do is I try to provide a forum. And that forum allows us to have these discussions. So thank you, everyone, for listening, for participating. Friday will likely be much more lighter topics. I can be found right here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 a.m., usually till 11. Today ran late because I had a lot to talk about. I can be found on Thursdays on Nerd Bacon on Luke Stone Studios' YouTube channels and his assorted branched networks, where I'm in a very different environment, and it's fascinating there. And on Friday nights, I'm on the Historical Fencing Guild at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, where we talk swords and shenanigans, building ourselves up physically and perhaps even a little philosophically to be better able to deal with what the world throws at us. So with all that said, always happy to host people on my podcast. Thank you. Good to know, Mozart. All that said, guys, please, we've put a lot of complex things in your mind. Don't be afraid to write, to create, to put your ideas and experiences on paper or digital, because that preserves them. And even if you outgrow them, you can understand yourself and each other better. I also want you to do that, because if you don't, you can't fix it. You can't improve. And there's one thing, no matter how talented you might be, but you can't edit a blank page. And as we're logging off, my friend Mike Jimmy shows up. Hi, Mike. We had a fascinating discussion on diversity and culture. And I am sorry you were late, because we're actually about to close the show. But folks, support. Hey, we understand. Side job is a side job. Support Mike Jimmy's Life on Korra. The comics are amazing. His world building is superb, and I cannot describe just how fun and how insanely awesome his animation project is. So follow Mike Jimmy on YouTube, on whatever, Facebook, wherever else he is, and keep writing, because you can't edit a blank page. I will see you all very soon. Have a nice day.